Let's cross to Victoria and catch up with the Liberal Senator for that state, Sarah Henderson. Thanks for joining us again, Sarah. I want to get your thoughts first up on the pandemic and what's unfolding in Victoria. Has Daniel Andrews stuffed this up?
Chris, good afternoon. Look, what we're seeing in Victoria, of course, is a little concerning. We are seeing a spike. Whether it's a second wave, I think it's fair to say the jury is still out. But the National Cabinet has recognised, Chris, that these outbreaks will occur. Obviously, there is a bit of criticism, and I do maintain my criticism about the Black Lives Matter protest. The fact that the Victorian government did not take appropriate action to shut that protest down when it should have, and I think that sent out a very poor message. But now, as a government, we are concerned about working with the states and territories, including, of course, Victoria, to make sure that all the right health messages are out in the community, including, of course, the absolute importance of hygiene and social distancing.
Yeah, obviously they've got to get on top of this. You've had a large part of this is known clusters around various workplaces or community groups. You've got to make sure you isolate those and get on top of them. And at the moment, of course, we've seen the infection rates increasing over the past week, so it's a bit of a concern. But I worry greatly that there's an overreaction here, not necessarily from Victoria, but from the rest of the country. Just when we're starting to open up, they're looking at these numbers of infections, still 75 on the highest day, and using that as an opportunity to clamp down further, ban travel, and slow down and stifle the return of society, of the economy and the recovery of people's livelihoods.
Chris, absolutely. I think it's very important that we all work together to slowly but surely reopen the Australian economy. I am a bit concerned to hear some messages from other states, such as don't go to Melbourne. We've all got to work together. And there's no doubt, I think, that there will be other outbreaks, and that's certainly the advice, the best medical expert advice. And when these outbreaks happen, we've just got to make sure that we clamp down on them, get the contact tracing happening as soon as possible, and make sure that all the resources are there so that we can minimise the curve and continue to reopen the economy in a COVID-safe way.
Yeah, it's quite concerning because, of course, as you would know, we might be in this situation for a year, longer, 2 years, who knows? It seems to be treating this, a lot of people seem to be treating this as if we've got to shut down for a month or two and it's going to be all right. No, we can't keep shutting down our economy and stopping people travelling if we get dozens of people in outbreaks here and there, because we can't be doing that in a year's time, can we?
Look, as I say, Chris, we've all got to work together to focus on how we can reopen the economy in a COVID-safe way. All of those health messages still stand. So it's absolutely imperative that Australians follow the health advice. This has not gone away. And, who knows, but we could see an outbreak in South Australia or New South Wales or Queensland. At the moment, Victoria is grappling with some particular challenges. But again, the community is on notice here in Victoria, the importance of following the advice. We've just had our first case, an active case in Geelong for many, many weeks up until today. We had no cases in southwest Victoria, and it is a constant reminder that this terrible virus has not gone away and we have to be vigilant at all times.
Have we lost a sense of that national cohesion that was there early on with the National Cabinet, the whole country working together? Are we starting to fracture here and see each state playing to their own rules?
Chris, I think the Prime Minister has made it very clear that while there are the principles in play in the three-phase opening of the economy, it's up to each state and territory as to how those restrictions are implemented. And of course, Victoria has some particular challenges, and it may well be that in these COVID hotspots, stay-at-home orders may be implemented. We don't know yet. So each state and territory must make sure that it implements its restrictions given the particular circumstances it faces. But I think that the National Cabinet, led by the Prime Minister, has been a great success. Of course, it is continuing. It does enable the Prime Minister and the states and territories to make very quick decisions. And I think overall it does show how well we can work together as a federation.
Right, looking to the broader picture of the economic recovery, and there's been a lot of focus on this being the time to look at some serious economic reform. We're getting the GST being focused on again. Should it be broadened? Should it be increased to pay for tax relief in other areas. The New South Wales government's been pushing pretty strongly in this regard. Is it time for us to have this debate in a mature way?
Well, I already think that the Prime Minister and the government more generally has indicated that this is going to be a very important time where we will need to implement further economic reform. Of course, the very substantial work is already underway in relation to our IR reform led by the Attorney-General. And right across the economy, it gives us an incredible chance to look at how we do things, including making things in Australia and making more things in Australia. So I think particularly for manufacturing, this presents us with a great opportunity, and we have seen, led by Karen Andrews and, of course, Greg Hunt, the Health Minister, we've seen what Australia is capable of doing when it comes to producing the PPE that it had to go and produce itself. We've got incredible skills, incredible capabilities. And so I really do think that this is going to provide new opportunities right across the sector. Every sector.
The only way to do that is to be a bit more protectionist, to be a bit more economic nationalist in our outlook, being prepared to pay more to make stuff here.
Well, not necessarily, Chris. We can make more stuff here and be clever about the way we do it. So I think that this is, while this is a very, very tough time, and our government is very focused on looking after Australians, on their lives and livelihoods, on getting through this incredibly difficult year, it is also an opportunity to look at how we can do things differently, whether it's in media, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in how we build our roads or roll out our infrastructure. And of course, what's also really interesting is the speed with which decisions are being made. I can see certainly that the states and territories are working pretty effectively with the Commonwealth Government at the moment to make those very quick decisions, and I really do hope that that continues as well.
Does the level of the job seeker payment need to remain higher than it was permanently?
Chris, I'm not going to preempt the review. That review, of course, will be made public next month in a couple of weeks' time by the Treasurer, but the review is underway. A number of factors are looking at.
Sorry, that's the review of the JobKeeper program. I'm talking about the Job Seeker program, the DOL, which was doubled effectively for the pandemic. Doesn't that just underscore that it was too low previously, and it certainly shouldn't go back to the pre-pandemic figure?
Chris, look, there are certainly huge concerns at the moment about how people are going to get through this period. I'm certainly not going to be agreeing with you on that point, other than to say I think, as I say, the government now is looking at all of these matters in light of the particular pressure that families are under, and the review of JobKeeper is the most immediate concern for the government. But as I think the Social Services Minister made clear yesterday, we won't be going ahead with the $75 a week increase. That's certainly not on the table at the moment, and she has made that clear.